Hi, today I am answering a question from my YouTube audience and from a member of there from my YouTube channel. Um, and the question is, I'm going to read that in a moment, but really the title, what I'm going to talk about today in general is why do I completely let my guard down when I'm happy or excited and end up getting hurt? And so that's what I gathered from her question today. I'm going to read that to you and we're going to dive in. I'm Rachel McLeod and I specialize in helping people resolve symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. I help people do the brain work for this, and the brain has a beautiful process to resolve all these issues and make our life wonderful. But this process does get blocked and stopped, and so I help people get that process working, and then they will see post traumatic growth. They will see health and wellness showing, and they will watch their brain create better and higher functioning ways of being in the world, and on and on and on and on. I could go on, but I have that's why I have a channel because I will go on. And that's why I'm talking about this stuff. So let me read her question and then we'll dive right in. She said, "Hi, Rachel. I wanted to ask a question about equipping my brain with more tools to test whether someone is trustworthy or not. When I'm happy or get excited, I feel in tune with life and the universe, not too dramatic, not to be too dramatic, and I let down all my mental defenses. I don't want to test people from a sense of manipulating and getting a response to prove a point, but when my brain gets excited, I don't see danger, if this makes sense." And this absolutely makes sense, and I this is a difficult question to ask, and when we're trying to navigate the world, um, this can really seem like the thing, but this is not the real issue. So I'm going to talk about that, and but it's really hard because it's like you love this open state of like feeling one with the universe, right? Like that's an amazing state, and um, and I'm going to talk about what happens there brain wise and why we're doing one state and we're dropping another state, right? We're dropping the ability to understand reality and whether in the signs and signals whether someone is healthy, good for us. It helps us grow. It's going to be good for us, right? And so sometimes we feel this. And then the other one drops off, or we're all scrutinizing and we can't get into this state, so we really don't like that, and the opportunity to go and get into the whole state just shows up, and we're like, I'm taking it because it's so fun, right? But we can't do both at the same time. And this is I put on here on the title complex PTSD because this is something that will happen often for us, and this is one of the reasons why many of us can become high achievers. That we can separate. We will choose the high, good feeling route. There might be lots of problems that show up, but we're gonna have a good time, right? And we can't really deal with some of the challenges of life or avoiding red flags. We've got them plenty, but we're having a great time. And so we've got so much high energy, but that we're just running through problems. And eventually this gets really exhausting and we want to do something different. And so, but it happens because of a lack of the brain's ability to process things and the lack of the brain's ability to hold multiple options at the same time. And so we have this inner conflict right here. And that inner conflict is I want the joy, but I also want to be discerning and accurately judge the people, the characters of the people, and whether this will be good for me or not. And we have inner conflict. Our brain doesn't know how to do both, right? We're not integrating these things. And so a lot of times I will call the excitement here unintegrated excitement. And so that to me means that when I see this showing up, that it's time to get that excitement integrated. That when this one is up and running through us, like it's almost addiction, right? And it's like I don't care about the consequences, right? No, brain, you can do better than that. You can do better than that. And we want this brain state because we love it. It lights us up. Our brain is looking for these things. We need lots of lighting up, right? But we want to also hold the other. And this is what happens with addiction as well. We treat addiction and unintegrated excitement the exact same way, at least I do. We want to get those good feelings integrated because we don't want them causing all this havoc. We want them making its way through your brain, all the stations in your higher level, higher brain function. And so we want it to go through your values and your morals and seeing things from multiple perspectives. We want it to go through your, we want it to be highly connected to reality, right? And that's one of the things that's not happening here, where we're feeling so good, we're getting caught up in there, we're running on this path that's not connected to our values, our morals, our ability to understand reality. And this is where we get grandiosity. This is where we get a lot of those things over there, unintegrated excitement, happiness, joy. And so, and there can be reasons for this. I feel like I'm all over the place. I really like this topic. um, okay, let me slow down a little bit here. So we've got all this unintegrated joy. We want to get into reality with it. We don't want to just have this feeling and we lose touch of reality. So, with PTSD, one of the hardest things for our brain to do is get to reality, because it has all these extra filters, because all the filters over reality have to do with unprocessed issues. And so we're trying to look at reality, but we got to look through this lens of all these filters that our brain has there, because it thinks that these things belong here. It thinks that this is what's supposed to be showing up. And so it's not doing this to cause problems. It's just, this is brain function, and this is what PTSD is about. And so we want to get all these things processed so we can get to reality. And so if we've got, on top of all the filters, and we've got all this joy taking us, it's, we're not doing it right. We're not doing it, we're not holding the two things together. um, there's something else I want to say here about this that makes it difficult. This is the same thing we do with anger that's not integrated, right? So I want you to see it's the same process, as just with a positive emotion. Okay. Um, and so when anger comes up and it can't get through past the survival system into the whole brain, where they can really integrate it and look at it and analyze it and understand it and add some morals and some values and some problem solving and multiple perspectives, and really make this thing wonderful and such a high quality product, it's smooth and beautiful. When it gets there, you'll notice kindness and assertiveness coming instead of anger flavored concoctions. Um, that's really what we want to do with it. But when it can't get through the process, it can't get connected and integrated with all the other higher states, higher brain, higher functions, then it just, we just do anger. And it's like, doesn't have our values, doesn't have our morals. We're carried off by it. When we're done, we're like, what have I done? This didn't even match me, right? I don't even like this. I don't even believe in this. I would have never done this if I had a choice. And we didn't get a choice because we didn't get the anger through the choice centers in the brain, right? It's the same thing with happiness, joy, and those sorts of things, that we didn't actually get it through the process. Okay, now I have told you before in many videos that the positive emotions just zip through the process. And for the most part, that's true, but there's always caveats here. And so, uh, if these positive states are ever associated with trauma and not safety, lack of safety, they will get kicked out like they're dangerous. The survival system starts reading them as a danger and a threat to you. And so they don't actually get through the process. And so this is actually, so we're not, so when that happens, we cannot use our these specific positive emotions for higher level purposes, because they can't get to those parts of the brain. So let me tell you how that happens. That will happen if we're ever, it's, this happens in early childhood usually, which is why I'm putting complex PTSD involved with this, is that there are times when parents cannot handle children's positive emotions, feel threatened by it, overwhelmed by it, or have learned that it's that the parent already has a subconscious programming that joy is bad, and they will punish children for happy, joyful, excited expressions, or overcorrect, or somehow um, alienate, try and separate their child from their positive emotion state. I do not believe this is a conscious thing. This is unconscious. It's horrific, right? If I don't think, if somebody were to say, "Hey, do you know that right now you are separating your child from their positive emotions? You're making it so that it's not safe for your child to express excitement or joy," that parent would be horrified, and we would hope right? That is not always the case. There are extreme cases where parents are intentionally making sure their children do not are not happy around them, are not joyful, those sorts of things. But for the majority of parents that have done this to their children, they do not know they're doing it, or they cannot see the correlation or how the impact is being created, right? So, but if you run into a room and you're so excited and then you get snapped at or bit at or punished, or and nobody wants to hear your side of the story, and you're put in timeout and you're spanked, or you get the rage monster that you startled your parents in a startled response and they freaked out on you, and then you're learning, ooh, we shouldn't really walk around with this much excitement, then your brain starts to make a correlation after a while that excitement means punishment, which means pain, which means pretty soon the brains will back up and be like, well, what's the beginning cause of this? Oh, it's that excitement. So excitement is dangerous. And so then it's on a loop outside of healing, resolution, integration. So we actually can't use our excitement energy well. Okay. Um, if we have in our authentic expression of happiness and excitement made some errors that or mistakes that we've experienced as painful, wrong, shameful, hurtful to others, then we start flagging that as there's something wrong with this excitement thing. And so we become more hesitant to do it. And then that starts where, we start noticing more areas of excitement. And then your brain is like, it's definitely that excitement. We're not doing that. Every time you're excited, you go ahead and do some terrible things. So you're done with that. And so that gets locked down. And so the mind body system interprets that as danger. So those are the reasons why we have unintegrated joy, happiness, excitement, why our system doesn't feel it's safe to do that. And but that doesn't mean it's not going to come. That doesn't mean that excitement's not going to move through the body. That doesn't mean that joy is not going to move through the body. It will happen less often because the system is really working hard to make sure that doesn't happen and to suppress it and repress it. However, there's going to be breakthrough moments of joy and happiness, just the right moment. The joy got through the fence, and here it is, and it's at large, and it's never made it through the healing pathways. And we are doing all the things. And then when we come out of that state, now we're horrified because we did not take into account the sign reality, right? We couldn't process reality because we were in a state that led to us being in a non-processing survival state. So, okay, so that's what's going on brain wise right here. Okay, so the situation is not to test people more and not to test people um, whether they're trustworthy or not. It's really about being able to do two things at once, being able to do excitement and keep your discernment moving. Does that make sense? So, and there's some other things in here that I don't think I can get into today because of time. But and a lot of this, instead of seeing whether someone is trustworthy or not, the hack here is really to keep connected with your own emotionals, your inner reporters, right? When we're around people, we're going to get different senses: excitement, fear, terror, dissonance. We're going to feel lots of different things that are going to let us know if we feel safe around that person. It's not really about judging that person, which it's about seeing the things and the self knowledge. Like when you know that you don't get along well with people that are highly critical, or that it doesn't make you feel good, that, or maybe they have they have farther along their journey to go than you want to jump in with at this moment, or things like that. It's really about you. And so a lot of this stuff has to do with connection to yourself, connection with your own inner um, workings, what you like, what you know. And if you have unintegrated excitement, you won't be able to really access that very well. The trains aren't moving on the same tracks, right? The excitement is going this way, and you're off on that train, and you cannot get connected with the other one to have them both going at the same time. So I know that this you want a better whoever all of you maybe would like a better like okay but how do I know they're trustworthy or not? I really have so much faith in your brain that if you can do those two things at once, you're not going to have a problem with this and that you're going to be able to see all the things. So it's not about having tools to test people when you're in happy states. If I gave you those tools, you wouldn't be able to hold them anyway because once your brain goes on this joy excitement route, you will drop the tools because that part of the brain is not holding tools. This you need to be able to in when you're happy and excited still access the other parts of your brain that have the tools. So it's in there. It's just we need your brain to do two things at once instead of just running off with one. And this is the same thing for anger, for sadness, for grief, for irritability, for all the symptoms, not symptoms, emotions, right? We need to be able to do more than just one at a time. And there's sometimes we can't, and we have strategies for that. And so, especially as we're growing into stuff, but whatever we're practicing, our brain is getting better and better and better at. And so, there's more and more environments where we can do two things at once, and we don't just switch over into a one activity like survival, right? We want all the things together. And brains can do more than two, right? But if we can get them doing two, then they're already on a path to doing three and doing four and doing five, and then holding a ton of perspectives at the same time, which is really where the magic happens. And so it's really worth it to get that two things going on at the same time because there's lots of stuff your brain can do. Take it from there. It'll take it from there and just roll. So, having said that, there's a way to work with the brain that gets these doors open and gets that joy and excitement moving through and getting integrated and getting supported by the higher level reasoning parts of your brain and the resourceful parts of your brain. And so I have three interventions that I teach for free in a program called Interventions for Inner World Transformation. I would love to introduce you to those, and you can try them out while you are feeling excited. You use them in those moments, or you can use them while you're thinking about those moments, and and see what happens, and see if your brain can get that excitement integrated, and so that you can do those two things at once. This is a very simple process. It just does not take a long time. It really is can be as simple as point and shoot. Hey brain, look over there and do your tapping or your collarbone breathing or whatever it is you like to do, whatever intervention it is that you like, that that part of the brain will respond to by allowing the energy, that excitement into your whole brain state. So um, So I invite you to enroll in that. I left the link in the comments, not in the comments, in the description part of the setup. So you can click on there and enroll and learn those interventions now. Each video is about 15 minutes, but the interventions take about 30 seconds or 2 minutes once you've learned them. But I want you to understand them a little bit, so I'm teaching that. And that's it. So if you have an intervention, you have more complex things to do. I have a program where I teach you how to direct your brain to do the healing work you want to do in the order that you want to do it. Like if you're like got these symptoms of panic, and how to get the brain to work through those things. Any symptom, any challenge, really there's strategies and exercises to position your brain to, hey, let's work on this. And that's really what that program Inner World Transformation is all about, and that's available on my website as well. And so that helps people really get through years of therapy in just a few months, just a couple months, 8 weeks. So I invite you to try that out and really let your brain create so much healing and wellness for you. So wonderful connecting. See you soon.